Okay, here we are for our second lunch and learn on AI at work and for fun. So we'll dive into it here. And when I had started this topic, I saw a presentation on AI not too long ago from a friend named Dean Isaacs, and I'll call him out a little later. But one of the first things he did is just sort of define artificial intelligence. And so we're not going to go through all this, but it's basically, the computer or some software is doing human-like tasks. It can be all different things, and we'll get into some of the examples of it later. Um, the more interesting part of AI is this generative AI, and that's where it's creating new content. And we'll give you a bunch of examples later, which is super cool. And I think that's where it's not just sort of answering a question; it's creating something new. And so I think that's just the tip of the iceberg, or sort of where AI can go. So we'll get into image, text, art. I don't know as much about this other stuff, but there are companies out there obviously doing all sorts of stuff with drugs and around, I don't know what I would call it, detecting in health, like health issues and things like that. So this was a question that the dean had asked in the oops, hold on a second. Messed up the slide. Let me go back to here so we can see each other. So one of the questions he asked was, how often do people use AI? So how often, do you guys, you can do raise of hands or whatever, but how many people have used AI before, would you say? All right. How many people have used it in the last month, say in February? Okay. And then how many people use it every day? And then, so I'll say I use it every day, but when you see the slide, you'll see that AI is more readily available than you think. So whenever you're using like Siri or Alexa, that's basically AI. So even our kids are saying, hey, Alexa, what's the weather? Hey, Alexa, what's the recipe for this? I don't know, our 7-year-old especially ask Alexa for magic spells and all sorts of crazy stuff. And then we use Siri a little bit too, but I think, that's a very easy prompt that people have been using and aren't really sure about it. But if you have, what do you call these little, I don't know, robots to go around, they clean your thing. We had one for a while. We're not using it now, but so that's going around and it's sort of learning where to go, and it's sort of taking inputs from the room around it to figure out where to clean. Google Maps is one. It's sort of, a tool that people are using to, get to places and stuff like that. And there's all these other sort of apps. So I think that's just something to think about. You may not be using ChatGPT, you may not be using these other tools that we'll sort of go through today, but everybody's sort of using some form of AI. It's just, basically you're using a computer to help you with some task, whether it's driving or, answering a question about the weather or whatever it is. These are a bunch of slides. I'm not going to go through them all. I think I sent out the slides before so people can read through it. And I'll show you how I got AI to do this. But I asked ChatGPT, like, what are the best uses for AI? And it has a bunch of stuff here, like supply chain optimization, so there's all these different things that we're not necessarily doing, but there's companies that are doing it. And the personal stuff, virtual assistants are pretty big, like Siri and Alexa. If you are in another country, it'd be super helpful to get language translation. You can say, how do you say, go to the bathroom in Portuguese, and it would help you. Some of these other ones are kind of funny. I'll go to the next slide too, which is basically the same thing, which is what Dean had put together. And so like these ideas of like road trips, you can say like Siri, you can say ChatGPT, like we're taking a trip to the Grand Canyon from Colorado, like where are the places we should stop, where are the hotels we should stay, where are the best restaurants to eat in each of those stops or each of the places, what are the best sites to see along the way, and it'll sort of, give you a list of of places to go and stay and things like that. And then I think eventually maybe get to the stage where you could say that have availability that we could book, and then you could even say we would book the trip or book those reservations. Recipe suggestions. I like this one. And this is a good, I'll go back to stop sharing for a second. This is a good one to see sort of if you like the difference between Google and like ChatGPT. So if you go to Google and you say, hey, I have chicken and I don't know, some paprika and some rice, like what's a dish that I could, recipe that I can make? And Google will give you a bunch of websites. The websites will all have, some sort of, description saying like, I don't know, here's the history of, chicken paprika dishes, and here's all the stuff, and here's the ingredients. And then like you scroll all the way down to the bottom, and there's finally like a recipe of how you would cook it and how long to cook the chicken and whatever else. ChatGPT will just say, whatever, put the paprika on the chicken, cook it for 20 minutes and on 450, and like it just gives you the answer like right away. And so the speed of how it will give you those answers, is why it's taking off so much. So I think that's sort of important to think about. So I'll pause here because this is supposed to be a discussion. I don't want to talk the whole time. And I just covered a bunch of slides that I didn't really cover, but what does anybody have some other fun uses of things they're using some sort of software or AI to help them do?
Well, I think that I didn't realize that like Google Maps was considered AI. I was always thinking it was just like the Chat GPT. So that's interesting to find out, because I think that I would always get lost if I didn't have Google Maps to help me out. But I really like the idea of the recipe because I'm always like scrolling through and I just want to know how to do it. And I didn't realize it cuts right to the chase, because that sounds super beneficial. Anyway.
Yeah, same for workout plans or whatever else. It's just a totally different way of doing. You sort of you don't get the variety. So if you're like me, like I Google like best chicken parmesan recipe, and then I look at 3 or 4, and I sort of take all 3 and blend them into one. But it's that step out, and you'll see how to use the prompts and stuff as well later to do it. I think which is useful.
I heard that there was a wait list to get that. Is that still true, or what does that look like?
Anybody can sign up for it. And there's free versions and paid versions. And we'll get into anybody else have an AI tool or thing you like using?
Not one I've used, but I had a client recently that recorded a meeting with something called AI Read, and it was like another person in the meeting, like where it showed a phone number, and it was this, and it would take notes and then leave with like things of who needs to do something after the meeting. And then it would just you could email it out to everybody in it. And it was like a summary of what was discussed and like each person, what their takeaways and what they were supposed to do after the meeting was. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome tool. Yeah, I have one that I've used. I haven't really perfected it. I used one called Rewind, but what you'll find is a lot of so like note taking, there's probably like 10 or 15 different companies that do that. And so it's a little hard to figure out which ones are good for your platform or for your task or whatever. But there's definitely lots of good solutions. So as we start implementing them, it'll be fun to start using them for some of our meetings like this, or like other our monthly bookkeeping meetings and stuff like that. Cool. Any just like off the wall questions or things that you're thinking so far, or should I just keep going through slides? And eventually my whole point is to run through the slides as sort of quickly as I can, so then we can get into some demos and just play around some. But if
I have a stupid question.
Yeah.
So like, is Google considered, like if you were to do a Google search on anything, no matter what it is, like, is that considered AI, or is it like only specific things you're requesting, or like, I'm just so, I don't know.
No, it's a good question.
I didn't know the difference either.
Yeah, it's really hard to know the difference, but I would say so Google is their search results are based on like an algorithm or like a search thing. And some of that is based on advertising dollars. So whenever you search, like if I search Google, I sort of assume this, but, best AI note taking, best AI note taker.
Okay.
So all these ones at the top, these are all paid company people. These companies have paid money to be on the search.
Okay.
To show up there. And then these other ones, these are all based on, so now this is our first one that's like real. And this is based on, they call it search engine optimization, but it's based on, a bunch of different criteria to say that, people, when they see this site, they stay here longer and it looks like it's getting their answers thing. And it's like, hey, it's the 10 best. And, that's trying to give things. And then it has, these are all Google things, but so it's more based on some sort of search thing. If we go to, let me just get into, I don't think it would do it, but let's see. I'll just get into chat. What is the best? And this is one of the limitations. So it has a little bit of thing, but it gives a couple different options.
Okay.
So you can see how much faster. So here we have, we just typed it and we have a bunch of different options. Here in Google, it's like, okay, well, which of these links do I want to do? And it's, and we have some stuff and, so you can just see how much faster it is, and we can ask different questions, but
Okay.
so, I'll put this off in another thing later because I'm sure we'll use it later. So let me, good question, Cody. And I think it's very valid. And I think that line will get blurrier and blurrier, especially as sort of the AI tools get rolled into different things. Because Google, I'll come back to Google. There's a slide later on how fast people are adopting AI, but Google's about to lose a ton of money, so they're going to.
No, I love Google.
Yeah, but you can see, like all those ads and stuff like that at the top. That's and then actually before I go on, I was going to do earlier, but I had where did I do it? I was going to give Dean a quick call out just in case you're watching. But this is the guy. I watched his presentation a couple of maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago on AI. He's in a networking group I'm in, but he basically helps companies sort of grow their companies, I guess, grow their business. So I want to give him a feedback because I'm about to get in. I literally, as I was creating this presentation, stole some of his slides. And this is one of them. This is an example. So he put the slide together, which is neatly presented. So let's see. Let me get it back into presentation mode. It's bigger. So these are some other notes too. I like some of these phrases. Like it's like sort of like the best intern you've ever hired. They're not going to be perfect, but they'll get it 80% done. So if you're planning that road trip, they might not know that you like hiking or that you hate I don't know boring drives or whatever it is. They don't know all those things, but it'll give you some place to start. And then there's a bunch of stuff around being able to personalize things. Like I think even now when you are scrolling through social media or through whatever else, like those ads and those like the next video or thing that they're showing is related to what they think that you will like, which is good and bad. But they're being able to essentially give you what you want, I guess. And then there's we actually have a new client. This Rochelle, your client you're working with, Patrick. He has a baseball training facility, and one of the things they're going to do is set up some AI where you can take a video of you hitting a baseball and it'll give you like tips, like here's the drills you should do and things like that. There's a lot of things like that for golf or basketball or any sport you want, and I'm sure for anything you can think of where you can record a video. So that's super cool that people can sort of get those things really easily, where before you would have to go get a coach and they would have to do whatever, maybe even study the films or different things, but it's getting a lot cool.
Do you know any of like the programs or anything that those people are using? Because I feel like that would be something good to invest in. Like any type of those programs that help with sports or your ability to improve anything. I don't know. There'd just be something to look into, I feel like.
Yep. Yeah. There are similar to note-taking apps. There are a lot of different companies that are doing different things, and all are doing it better or worse than others, and they all have different different things that they're focusing on, I guess. So yeah. So I don't know. Obviously, I saw a chart the other day. I don't know if I can find it, but it was basically saying like I don't know, NVIDIA is the name of the company, but they make all the chips and the stuff, and their company, like I think it was like a $1,000 investment in 2015 or 2017 versus like Google, and it was like Google grew to like, I don't know, $5,000 or $6,000, and NVIDIA grew to like 80,000 or 100,000. I get it was over $100,000, like 100x. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of money to be made in some of these companies. I think like a lot of them though, will either be acquired or will go bankrupt, as is the way of startups. It'll be interesting. There'll be obviously be some that kill it. So yeah, and so if you're interested in that, I think the danger is a lot of these things, you can go down a rabbit hole pretty quickly or whatever else. But yeah, I would say you can start researching them and find different ones. A lot of them are probably privately held startups. But if you want to get on AngelList or something and get some money around, I'm sure you could. Let's see. Or there might be some like on what's the crowdsourcing platform? I forgot what it's called now.
GoFundMe.
Oh yeah, GoFundMe, Kickstarter. Yeah, all those. I'm sure there's different ones. Okay, so this is super cool. I want to show you this one. Actually, let me build up the video. So if I go over here, we've got a million tabs open. This is these are all just like images on OpenAI's feed. So these, and what's interesting here is if we just sit here, like all these are just being created. But if I scroll through, there's all different stuff, and you can click on the caption. So blonde Russian woman with a round face. This is rustic large modern farmhouse situated on a farm at sunset with string lights. And so this is a fake image that it created in 15 seconds or whatever. And there's a lot of funny ones or whatever else. And this usually it's like people creating them and they sort of have a theme or something they're trying to create or whatever. And so but this looks like a real photo picture of a 7th grade kid named Owen. This is what it came up with. So I was typing in this earlier, team meeting on AI and hyper detailed portrait, and it was coming up with different things. But we can type in. Anybody have an idea of something they want to see while it's generating this? Let's see, where's ours?
Not necessarily an idea, but just as you're scrolling through these, there's a couple of like Facebook groups that are like church media graphic related. And so it's where people post these really crazy pictures. Like, you take like a Bible story of Jesus who flipped over the tables in the synagogue. And so they ask AI to create that. And then it's like some crazy, like Olympic Jesus, like actually doing flips over, not like throwing tables, but doing flips like over tables. And those are, I find those, when I need to like veg out, like I scroll through those things because I find them humorous, because it's just kind of funny.
I don't know why I'm down in the.
So what's the difference between OpenAI and ChatGPT?
Let me show you. Open. Wait, how do I get to the? There's a way. Let me go to the ChatGPT one. So ChatGPT, there's a better. I'm not great at this. Let's see, open. Hmm.
I'm curious how this is going to shift like different markets and jobs and things like that. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, let's talk about that in a second. So this is the open AI platform. So it has all the different stuff on, tutorials and stuff coming soon. And eventually this gets into like how to troubleshoot error codes and then ChatGPT is just one piece of it. And then there's, let's see over here, where is the different tools? This playground. Because one of the like chat is just one of them where it returns text, but this other one called Dolly is one that I use for images. I don't know why that's not loading. All products maybe. So it has Dolly, ChatGPT. I thought there was more, but anyway. So I'll show you. Dolly is one I had open a second ago. Let's see, where did I put that? So this is Dolly. I was messing around with it, but here's a picture of us, of our team, like in spacesuits or whatever. So it's really easy to like do videos or image edits like that, or you can just type in different prompts and different things.
Can you show how we will look like 10 years later, 20 years later?
It doesn't do that as much. It more just edits the photo.
Oh.
So this was the photo, and then I did it, and you can do different things where you can, I think I just, if I want to do this, and it doesn't always work because there's like obviously pieces of the picture that I'm not editing. Like I kept like no matter what I was doing, I kept putting a Christmas tree in my photos. And then you could say, edit. We want it to be oops. Or in a movie, or let's see. So I don't know. And this is where it gives you other ideas. Like this is somebody typed in fortune telling Shiba, reading your fate in a giant hamburger, digital art. So you can type in the type of thing you want. So it didn't quite. So I mean, it had some backgrounds. This is us supposedly at a Bronco game or whatever. But it tries to edit the photo based on what you're doing. But it won't change. I haven't found a way. I think if we, I tried to do something similar to that Venus. We were on. Like over Thanksgiving, I was with my in-laws. I don't know where the original photo. This was like the original photo, and they asked the same question: can you make us younger or different things? And all I could end up doing was changing their outfit. I think at some point, I don't know which one it was. Anyway, so we can play around with making videos or things all day. But so what I want to do is this was sort of the original thing that came out, and so now what's really cool is like how fast this is evolving. Is this isn't even released to the public yet, but now they have creating video from text. So this is also from OpenAI. So this is a video right here that is created, but some of these are just let's let it load. But so this is a video created from a prompt. The prompt says, a stylish woman walks down Tokyo street, film with warm glowing neon, all the different stuff. And so, there's all different things. Here's a woolly mammoth. So you can bring back, dinosaurs or whatever else. But this isn't open to the public yet. But this will be open probably sometime this year. movie trailer featuring the adventures of a 30-year-old spaceman wearing a red wool-knitted motorcycle helmet. Salt Desert cinematic style shot, 35mm film. Drone view, animated scene. So this is, so you can think of like Pixar or like all those other companies that make these little things. It's pretty cool that you can make these, you know, I don't know how long it takes to make them, but you just basically type in a prompt. There's all different genres where they're trying to do. So here's a Jeep commercial or whatever. I mean, if you looked at this, I wouldn't know that it's not real, especially at a quick glance. Art gallery. I don't know what this is, like going down Tokyo.
So can
Flower
I
Park.
upload my photo and ask ChatGPT to do something? Because when you prompt it decides everything. But I want me to be in it doing something.
Yeah. So let me get to that in a second. But the short answer is you can take a video or a picture in this dolly thing. And so like I was doing, trying to do a Valentine's Day card. So I had a picture of my son. I don't remember where the original was. Here was the original photo, and I just accidentally clicked something, and it made, for one, it varied the picture, which my kids thought was hilarious. But then I was trying to get him like riding a broomstick, and then I wanted, so there was a bunch of different variations. She was supposed to be like a Harry Potter Valentine's Day card, and so yeah, I did the same thing. I did all the stuff, and it came up with this image on its own. So you can try that. So yeah, so I would say I'm not an expert at editing photos. But what's interesting on this one, I'll jump ahead on this one since I'm talking about it, and I'll jump around a little bit. Oh yeah, so then my daughter took the same assignment, and she didn't use Photoshop. It was a similar thing, but she basically just like put his face on like a Harry Potter thing because we knew exactly like what he wanted. She even got like the Harry Potter writing. So like, no matter what I was typing in the prompt, like it wasn't quite getting it correct, because we had this image of exactly what we wanted. So I think if there you could, so I would say yes, Venus, you should play around with it, see what you can do, have some fun, and learn how the tool works. But I'm not sure if you have something very specific in mind. There might be a specific app for that. Like there's filters on Instagram where you can add bangs or add Harry Potter scars or whatever else it is. So some of those are really fun to play with, but and that's more of a VR, AR, or I guess AR, augmented reality thing. Yeah. So anyway, so I just wanted to show you guys that basically there's that video editing or video prompt coming soon, which is super cool. So you could say make a training video to show somebody how to edit QuickBooks, or make a training video to show how to be safe on the job or whatever else. I think it's going to be super cool for those types of things.
Well, you said AR. What is that?
So there's AR, which is like augmented reality. So it'll take like your picture. We can just
Okay.
AR.
And just add things, or
I don't know what's gonna pull up here.
like the filters, like the face filters and things like that.
Yeah, or it's
Oh.
like there was that game Pokemon Go or something a couple years ago where people would walk around with their phones and find I don't know, little
Spots.
prizes or
Yeah.
different things. Cool. Let me show you. So I have one more. I'm going to get a few more slides, then we'll open it up again for more questions. Let me find my slides because there's a few things I've been jumping around a little bit as you guys are asking questions. Where was I? Yeah, so the video is super. So this isn't out to the public yet. These links are in here. This one talks about like, how it's going to be used sometime in 2024. So we can create stuff like TikTok, Instagram Shorts. stuff that's impossible to film, like, somebody walking on the moon, or, Mars, or, underwater, or whatever it is. You think of those types of things. This is a slide that blew my mind away. So this was how long each of these apps took to get to 1 million users. And obviously, Netflix, Kickstarter, really popular, Facebook. ChatGPT got there in 5 days, which is crazy. And then they were at 20 million users in 2 months. And then this is the part about Google that I was alluding to. It's projected that in 5 years, 50% of the search will be on AI tools. So if you think of probably, I don't know what the percentage is, but most of the search is on Google now. So they'll be losing a lot of that search unless they come up with better ways to do it. And they do have, there's a slide. Let me come back to this one. Sorry, I'm jumping around. Google does have an AI tool called Gemini. And the advantages to Gemini is it's real time. So I should have gone to some stuff. I'm really jumping around, but ChatGPT is usually on a delay, usually like a year old, some of the data in there. The Gemini is real time. So you can search things on the internet, which is pretty cool. And then Microsoft has theirs as well. So obviously all these companies, I forgot how much money they have put into these tools, but it's, billions of dollars that they're investing in these things. And this was actually back in July of 2023. I created this picture for our blog because I wanted a picture of like a tree being infected, whatever else. I was trying to come up with something. This is the best I could come up with. But so it's pretty fun. You can create, I had an idea in my head. This wasn't exactly it, but I was like, this is close enough. So super fun to create images and things that are sort of yours. You don't have to worry about copywriting and things like that. Let me go back here. Yeah, so it's growing super fast. This is an important slide around things to be aware of. The first one is around data collection. So whenever you're typing, so that picture I just uploaded of our team, or other of my son or whatever, like all those things are sort of going into the cloud, and they're using that data, and they can use that for future iterations. And so there have been concerns where somebody might upload some document by a company or some other legal document, and then somehow that will then show up on the web later. So it's definitely not secure. I'm not saying it's not to be used. And so a lot of times the advice is to replace the company name or replace any private info, especially if you're doing sort of documents and things like that. There's also this information bias, and the term is it can hallucinate. So there was a story, I don't remember how long ago it was, but some attorney was preparing for a trial and needed to find some cases relevant to his argument. So he asked ChatGPT, like, okay, can you find me some cases? And it listed off 5 cases and said whatever, this case where this person was sued, and this was the outcome, and whatever else. And so then the attorney took that list of cases to trial and did it. And the judge, was like, I've never heard of that case, and went and looked it up, and it was like a completely made up case. So you have to sort of, it's good at being creative, but not always factual. And each of these iterations of the different versions is getting better and better at making it more accurate. Or I think you'll eventually probably be able to tell it, like, I want real cases, or I want like made up, or imaginary stuff, because it's really good at sort of imagining things. What's the next slide? So any questions on this one around sort of dangers of AI, I guess?
I actually had a couple questions about that. So, I understand the concept of AI is just like it's pulling information from, but I don't know where it's pulling the information from. Is it literally like doing Google searches and Microsoft searches all at once, or how is that data being collected? Where is it coming from, I guess? Does it just depend on the program, or how does that work?
Yeah, each of those companies, so like OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, they created their own databases of data from the web and from books and all sorts of other stuff. And so if you ask the same question across all 3 platforms, you'll get different answers. And they're continuing to refine that. Whenever somebody else is searching, or as the internet continues to populate stuff, they are refining those databases, and that's sort of the fun part about AI is each day that goes by, they're getting better and better at sort of I don't know, refining their databases, I guess, their data, and that's there's lots of stories of big data and different things, and all the values in the data, and all those things. But I think it's the way I would summarize it is they're basically plugging all that data into some sort of computer program, and the computer program then they sort of train it and say, okay, when we ask you, create a cat walking on the moon, it sort of does it, and it says, okay, well, we don't want that type. That's not a cat, that's a dog. Or you sort of train it, and you say, okay, now it knows what a cat is, and then it knows that, and you say, okay, now let's train it to do something else. And so there's a lot of programmers that are going through and sort of trying to say, okay, do this task, and if it doesn't do it right, then it trains it to do it a different way, I guess. And so that's the way that they're creating those data sets, I guess.
Okay, I'm also curious about like the refining process. I've used ChatGPT just a handful of times, but is there a feedback process to refining it? So like, let's say that lawyer that used those cases or whatever, could he go back and like message ChatGPT back and say, hey, those were not real, find me real ones? Or is that like
yeah, that's a good question. Let me do it in 2 steps. So the first part is the prompts, like what you're asking it. So some common tips are, if you're using it a lot, you keep a Word doc with, common prompts, like, if you're constantly creating articles, and you want it written in a certain style, or you want it in a certain length, you can sort of save those. And then you can always use a second prompt, which is exactly what you're talking about. I'll show you an example in a second. You can also analyze your writing style. If you upload a bunch of stuff, and you can save a profile, which I've not done. I don't know how many people have, but I know it will. You can give it different things. Like you can say you're an expert in, I don't know, gardening. Like, how would you answer this question? Or you could say you're a 5th grader. How would you answer this question? So that gives it different answers based on what it comes back. You can be, very precise about what you want. I found that a lot of times I have it very specific in my head of what I want, and it never quite gets it. And I'll show you the example in a second. Yeah, I think it's just sort of practicing with it. Let me see if there's anything else on prompts. So let me show you an example here. This was, I can show you all the different examples, but this was a funny one. So I was trying to create a Valentine's Day poem for my wife. And this is my prompt. Can you create a rhyming Valentine's poem for my wife that says, I love you? Can you mention our kids? Can you say something about Dieter's chocolates and flowers? And so it comes up with this thing. And, it says where else? And I said, oh, wait, can you add her name, Emily? So now it's like, okay, great. Now it has Emily in there. And then I say, wait, so it says, where's the flowers? Something about flowers. With flowers blooming, let's take a stand. So I was like, no, wait, the flowers are a gift. And then I was trying to get at the rhyme with the kids' names, which it never did. So then it changes it to, I don't know if it completely ignored the flowers or not. Oh, and you can give it thumbs up or thumbs down. I don't know how to do that. And then so I kept adding different stuff that I wanted it to add, and it kept sort of refining it. And then eventually what I did, oh yeah, this is good. And then so in the very beginning, once it had stuff about chocolates, and then it kept iterating and took it out. So then it adds back in chocolates. And so eventually what I did then is I sort of took all those different things and then, wrote out my own little poem for her and whatever else. And my wife got it and said within the first 30 seconds, she was like, hey, this is written by AI, isn't it? Or something like that. Cause it used some crazy words, but the point of it is you can refine these prompts. Like, what was this one on? And this might have just been one. Sometimes I just ask it questions and I'm just looking for specific things. This was the question around oh yeah, so here's one. Like I asked, like, what is AI? And I was like, okay, that's a lot. Can you just summarize it in 10 bullets? And it says, great, here's 10 bullets. So this was what was on that one slide. So you can keep refining it. I don't know if I have any other good ones. I don't know. So I've asked it a lot of different stuff.
So you can't necessarily tell them that's not what I'm looking for, but you can always redefine the scope and the boundaries of what you want to get more accurate information, is what you're saying?
Yes, or so you can refine the input or output. So we can try one now. I don't know. Who has some ingredients recipe with chicken? So it gives some instructions, and then they'll say, maybe to answer a different question, but you can sort of keep refining it to whatever you want. You can always, that's not what I wanted. Let me think of a better example.
I just wanted to share one experience I have. So I'm on Reddit, and I like to watch or like read through the different ways people are using AI. And someone said thanks to ChatGPT, and they're like, "You're welcome." He's like, "Can you say it more broy?" And so like it was like, "You got it, man." And then he's like, "You could do better than that." And it responded like all these different ways to make it sound broy, and it went on for like 15 different lines of the ChatGPT trying to be more like homey like, which was super funny. And it really got there. It was hilarious.
Yeah, it's after a while. It's actually, I have one more story. But Luciana, can you share what you did with the handbook while we're talking about examples?
Yeah, so I had been working on creating like anti-discrimination, anti-harassment disclosure policy for our handbook, and I had just got introduced to ChatGPT, so I just asked it, can you create an anti-harassment policy that conforms to like Colorado compliance laws and stuff like that. And I mentioned that we're an accounting firm, we're creating a handbook and all that. And so it created this whole policy for me. And it just says like, fill in the blanks here. And it's like the company name and stuff like that. So pretty much created it for me, which would have took me hours just trying to figure out what format to put it in and some of the basic topics that were in there. And then I went even further to ask it, like it shows there, like, how do you want it displayed, and asked it to be in a list format, in a bullet point list. So it did all of that for me and saved me hours. So that was super fun.
So how can you know what what they are giving you is correct? You can just copy paste.
Yeah, we could copy and paste, but definitely with these types of policies, either way, like I'd have to go and, double check, a lot of this stuff, but I'm not starting from scratch where I was before. I was going to have to Google what compliance laws do we need to include as employers for anti-harassment, anti-discrimination, and, what needs to be included in that disclosure. At least it gave me, I think, a good framework to work off of instead of like creating each bullet point by itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely fact check the stuff. And it also depends on what if you're, using it to file your taxes or something, that's one thing. And that's another whole topic. But if you're using it to create a Valentine's poem, it doesn't matter. It's sort of like, what's your you're used for, or what's the worst case if it's, not correct, I guess. So if you're ending up in a lawsuit over it or something, then yes, I would definitely double check it. There was a bunch of I forgot what it was, but the like the AI programs or whatever have passed like the bar exam and the CPA exam, and I think they fail them at first, but then after they refine the model a little bit, they pass all those exams, which is pretty fun. I forgot how fast it does it, but and there's lots of other games and things where it will eventually beat the best chess people or those other games. There's one, I think it's called Go or something like that. I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, yeah, it's a super exciting. Let's pause there for questions. I think that we have about 10 minutes left.
Well, I don't know if it was a question, more just a conversation, just about how has this kind of changed the finance world, the art world. I just see it shifting. Why hire this person when you can get it from, OpenAI or Chat GPT and things like that. So that's kind of interesting, kind of a little scary to think about. I don't know if anyone's thoughts about it, but
Yeah,
AI
sorry, go ahead.
really replace accountants' work. It looks like its chance is in writing. So maybe when we do advertising, marketing, or prepare a slides for a meeting, it's useful. But still, like they present you something, we still need to read it to make sure it's correct.
yes, definitely. I see a lot of people today kind of not trusting it fully just yet, but I think there might come a time when people are more trusting to that. I'm not sure, but I know a lot of people like to ask questions and kind of like the face-to-face kind of when dealing with financial information, but I just kind of see it potentially going there. That's all. So
I'm more seeing the threats to the filming industry. In ordinary people can do a lot using AI. So maybe for those professionals, it would be
right, could be threatening. Yeah.
Well, I think it's all different tasks too. So I know like my sister does a lot of document reviews, like legal document reviews, where they're searching I don't know, some company suing another company and they're trying to figure out, is this like a material like to the case email, or is it about like somebody going to play golf on the weekend or something like that? And so, for the amount of time that it takes her to do it versus for, an AI program to do it, it's way cheaper. I think it, might cost, them, $60 to do a certain task, but AI can do it in like 25 cents or something like that. So it's way cheaper and it's way faster. But then, again, at some point later, somebody still has to go back and check that to say, okay, is this really relevant, or, did I miss it? So I think that's where a lot of the, I don't know, I think changes will come, and some more for, I compare it with like labor, like offshore or outsourced, overseas labor and things like that. There's a lot of bookkeeping and tasks, even CFO tasks or other type things like that can be done overseas. But it still doesn't get replaced by, wanting to meet people face to face or doing different things like that. And I think where this is my opinion, but most of the accounting firms are going to keep doing things the way they've been doing them, and some are going to adapt to doing something a little more efficient or a little cheaper. So if all of a sudden we could do somebody's books for 25 cents instead of $60, by using some AI program, like it makes sense. The companies that do that are going to be the ones that are going to do better. There'll always be some companies that, have worked for somebody for 20 years and they're going to keep doing it and it's not going to impact anything. But I think that when you compare those options, either whether it's speed or cost or accuracy or whatever it is, I think a lot of those routine tasks, I think will be replaced by that. But there's still somebody who needs to check it or to set it up or do all the other pieces of it to interpret it, all the data.
Right. QR kind of. Yeah. Okay.
Huh. Good question.
I also see in like the support chats that I'm assuming they use AI because I'll ask it a question and it doesn't, it's just like
Yeah.
guessing what my question is.
Yeah.
I'm assuming QuickBooks support does that until I ask to speak to a human. Usually is the key word, but I'm assuming that would be something that would help a lot of companies is usually they can answer the question. If it's a frequently asked question or something. So in those ways, it'd be better than paying like a support team, a customer support team, unless it's like really necessary.
I can see that. I personally like to talk to a person right away. I don't want to talk to anyone automated if there's an issue or something. I'm already like emotional about it. So I'm just like, I just want to talk to somebody, get me to the right person. So I can see that customers might draw away from a company that solely does, AI. But
Yeah, I think there's definitely a big stereotype still.
right.
I can't remember the stories, but it was something around, somebody creating, if Luciana comes to me and says, hey, I created this with AI, like for me, I'm like, that's great. But for like somebody else, they might say, well, it's probably not as good than if we hired some, employee or some HR specialist to create this, or they have that sort of perception that it's not as good. But I think that, since employee handbooks are not our core service offering, I'm not as worried about it. So I think that there's still that perception. My wife wasn't as happy that I used AI to create her Valentine, but I don't know, at least I did something. So
So
It's
I'm
the thought.
curious, how would you guys feel about such a Valentine's Day card? First, when I saw Paul was saying that, thinking, you can just say what you truly feel, right? Not like I'm hearing another man talking to me. But later, I'm thinking, at least I can acknowledge his effort. He tried to do a very nice thing to me, right? And when I read those things like talked by a poet, it sounds pretty nice. So it's okay.
yeah, and I think it's more the creativity of getting something started. Like if you have to do a new task, like creating a handbook, like, Luciana may or may not have done one before, but if it gets you, the outline and 80% there, then that's awesome. Or if you're trying to write a new song, or whatever it is, like, I think that's pretty fun. I don't think anybody's fully using it to have the final product, but to get it started is super helpful.
Oh, actually, cool. I have a suggestion for you. Next year or next time, you can still utilize AI to have these words, but you're going to read to her. That will be different.
There
And
we
she
go.
can feel it. It's from you.
That's smart. There we
Got
go.
it. Yeah, I need lots of help.
No, that's good.
What about you, Landon or Katie? Any other questions or thoughts?
No, I had no idea that the like some of the things you could do. It's kind of creepy, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, also it's super beneficial. Like I like the idea of someone being able to like record notes and send it out to the team. Like I think that could be like a game changer for a lot of companies, honestly.
Yeah. I kind of see it as kind of like, how can I make money off of this? How can I invest? How can I use it to like make money? Like, I'm not really interested in like the art to print off or something. In my mind, I'm just thinking, okay, that's what's coming next. Like how, that's just my thought. I don't know. How can I use it? How can I invest? How can I, yeah. Anyway, that's just my thought about it.
I love it. Yeah, and I think like a lot of those companies like haven't even been created yet. So there's going to be, like all these tools and things that are out there, like what we're actually gonna, I don't know, like when, if I go back to that slide of how fast all those companies were ramping up, all those companies were created in the last 20 years. And the companies that'll be on that chart, 20 years from now, or, it's a bunch of college kids right now that are programming or doing whatever else that are going to come up with some idea. So I think that there's lots of opportunity out there.
Definitely. I feel like you said that Google might go down you know, but in my head, I'm thinking, okay, that means it's going to be on sale and hopefully they figure it out. Anyway, okay. That's interesting, all the uses for it. It's pretty cool. It's a little scary about how the market's going to shift. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
kind of in my mind. And then from there, how do we profit from that? That's just in my head.
Yeah, I think of more and we didn't get into like any of the moral or the implications of it, but I think that all of those companies on that slide are basically motivated by us using our devices and being addicted to their apps more versus, in the sake of profit versus like what's better for human
That's
content or whatever else. And so I think that's super interesting. And I think also just having that realization that, Instagram or whatever company is feeding you whatever feeds to keep you on there longer is a good realization. So I don't know. I know we try to use a lot of like timers. So like if I use Instagram too long, a timer pops up and says, "Hey, you've been on Instagram 10 minutes.
That's smart.
You want to keep using it." So I don't know, just to be aware because it's easy to blow through, especially if Venus is going to try to create, I know Venus is allergic to cats, I think, but she's going to create cat pictures of her with the cat, later, and she's going to spend hours doing it. Next thing you know, it'll be 3 hours later, and I don't know. I think it's easy to get sort of fall into those things.
Yeah.
That reminds me, like when you use social media and you type something in a message or something, and then you notice ads popping up that are like what you talked about. Is that just like this working in the background? Because that part always kind of freaks me out that it's like
I would assume so.
listening.
No, yeah, I mean, it definitely is creating, a profile of you and what you like. And I don't remember what movie I was watching, but it was like getting into people's like psyches or whatever. And it was like, so-and-so hasn't been on, social media today. Like, let's send them a ping. Like, so-and-so just posted a photo or, it was very like, I don't know, creepy about it. But I think that they are definitely trying to personalize it to you. So if they know that you like messaging about whatever concert, whatever country concert or whatever other things, or who your friends are, even just who your friends are, like it already has like a profile of you.
That's so crazy. I don't know. I'm still not like buying into it just yet. I don't know, but yeah, it's different. I didn't even think about the morals behind it, but that's a good kind of perspective, Anyway.
Well, I'll stop recording here, and then